Hey folks, Dave from Nerdarchy, for Nerds by Nerds, and today I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchist Ted.
So hopefully, soon it's probably going to start playing on my phone. We're going to hear it double, which is always horrible. No one likes to hear themselves, is what I come to. I caught it before it could actually start going.
I don't like my own voice, so I'm right there with you. You know, there's times where
My voice, my face, just get rid of it all.
All right, well, all right, I'll totally agree with that one. So, like, you know,
Ted's like, yeah, I hate your voice and I hate your face too.
I was referencing myself.
Oh.
You know.
But anyway, happy holidays, folks. So we're going to talk about holiday adventures. It's that time of year, and it's a good time to do such.
Well, I mean, technically, holidays, you know, go throughout, and you know, the concept of holidays is something that you can have a lot of fun with. You can either take the holidays that you're celebrating that are existing in your world, in real life, and say, how can I adapt that concept and make something in the game? Or you can kind of take your own twist and be like, you know what, I want to make in-game holidays, you know, for my world and have them be, you know, meaningful and fun as well.
Or combine the two.
Or absolutely combine the two. Like, you know, we have in our world, you know, the Festival of Friends, which tends to happen around Christmas time because we have Griffin Gaff being such the center of so many different things. You know, they met the elves, the dwarves.
I think there's two different ones. I don't know if so. There's the one you did, right? You've got your holiday.
I don't even remember what it was. So
I
mean, we did that one like the first year. So
yeah, but it was definitely like, you know, the idea that you make. I think the idea was that you actually make things and give them to your friends or relatives. But then the Festival of Friends was something we added later, just because we thought it was funny because Griffin Gaff built the wall to protect itself because, you know, they kept getting attacked by things. It seemed like the thing to do. And then at the same time, right around the same time, the Dragonborn were coming into this world. So they kind of combined this new Festival of Friends, this new holiday, along with christening the wall.
Well, let me cut you off right there and say a big thank you to Fantasy Grounds College for the super chat.
Oh, yes, absolutely. See, for some reason, mine
so it says, Happy Holidays, Nerdarchy. I have not forgotten all of your help or influence for our community and Fantasy Grounds College. So, big thank you. Awesome.
Sweet. For some reason, my chat just doesn't want to update for me.
All right, well, I got it here, so...
Nice. Well, at least there it goes. I think we're in business. Yes, thank you as well, Fantasy Grounds College. We always appreciate those super chats.
So, Bobby Catalano, hello everyone, first time watcher. Very awesome. Great to see new people coming in.
Have you been watching Tales or the Chilling Tales of Sabrina?
I watched like the first half of it, and then we kind of got sidetracked. So I never went back and got into it, but it's something that I need to go and finish.
So yesterday, a new episode went up.
Oh, okay.
Their holiday episode.
Oh, nice.
So there's 11 of them there, not 10.
All right.
So you can check out. So we watched that last night, which was kind of cool. Which again, that's another great place where you can get ideas for in your game. You know, even over on the Nerdarchy website, there is. The Father's Winter Day holiday. What is it? Damn it! It's our adventure. I forget the name of it. Crinch.
Yeah.
Crinch the Soul Father's Winter's Day.
Yeah.
That's what it is. All right. All the words were jumbling around in my head, but they would not form into a sentence.
Well, you know, to kind of speak to how much of a nerd that I am, you know, pretty much whenever I'm watching, you know, TV, regardless of what the genre is, I'm always like, all right, how can I adapt something like this if it's a cool enough, interesting enough, you know, story or concept into, you know, D&D. So right now, the wife has decided, you know, that she's seriously interested in going back and rewatching all of, you know, Star Trek again. So we plowed through the Next Generation, and we're on Deep Space Nine. And there's some, you know, very interesting, you know, things that happen in that one that I'm like, all right, well, how do I do that? How can I, you know, deal with this? And So those are the things that I'm always looking at. So like, when you're watching, Sabrina, you've got these, very dark, very evil kind of concepts, while she's still like your hero, your good guy. So it's a good way to be able to draw some kind of inspiration.
I don't know what you're talking about. They're just hailing Satan and praising the Dark Lord. That's it. But I want to thank Miss Y Young for the super chat. Appreciate it. And so someone had asked Alpha if we're going to play some. No, we're not actually doing a gameplay. We're just doing a Q&A, discussion, talk. If you guys saw the thumbnail, How Orcus Stole Christmas is from Frog God Games. You can find a link to that PDF in the description, as well as a 2-time, not 1-time, not infinite, coupon code for a whopping 30% off. So if you're going to use it well, for sure. And I'm actually probably going to, don't listen, Ted, I'm going to run that adventure tonight. So this should be interesting because it's designed for like a 3rd level party, and I was reading it last night.
Well, it'd be perfect for the 17th, 18th level characters that we are.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, I got some ideas, and I want to tailor a little bit to our world and the things that are going on. But I think it'll be fun. I think Ryan had talked about threatened doing the sequel to the Cringe That Stole Father's Winter's Day, and he wanted to do something with Cold Miser and the Heat Miser.
Okay.
I think he just wanted to do like a whole knockoff series from the Baz Rutten holiday specials, and frankly, that's where I go to for my inspiration for holiday adventures as well.
You gotta have the that whole claymation feel.
Yeah, I like the campiness of it.
So, I mean, one of the things that you could do, I mean, the fact that I've been treating our world as, very loosey-goosey with, the barriers between planes. So if I were to do something like that, I would literally just, lift people, from our world and dump them so that visually everything winds up becoming, that claymation style. I mean, maybe even as you're ported into this world, you yourself look that way as well. I took, I like running the games for the kids, and since all of the people that were playing in that one game, which, sorry guys, that's not a game that we have up on the channel, but everyone that was a player in that game was a fan or knowledgeable about Minecraft. So I ported them into the cube world of Minecraft, and like everything was pixelated, and there were like wisdom effects and challenges because like there was no soft edges. The NPCs in that world were confused as to what these round shapes were of what the players dealt with, so they didn't look like they were in Minecraft. And then when they finally got out, they had some of these Minecraft-esque items and creatures, and they still look pixelated in the real world. So now, you've got people questioning, well, what is that? I can't quite see all its edges.
It's unnatural. You've actually run a lot of holiday-themed adventures when it comes to, the winter season. The Christmas-styled adventures. I know you ran one for me, David, and Billy, and I think Teddy played in it as well. Yeah. It was like Santa's Workshop gone wrong.
We never got to finish that game. That was last year. That was a lot of fun. There was an explosion. Within the elves' workshop. I think I called them gnomes there because it fits closer to what the elves are that work for Santa in a typical world, or within the D&D world. And it was a lot of fun that you guys were trying to figure out what happened to try and get this toy workshop working again.
Yeah, like I guess I started mentioning the first holiday game you ran for this group for 5th edition D&D, and that was where we all gave out like toys to each other. But then chaos magic happened, and there was something about the wood that was being burned, I vaguely remember, and set off like this chaos effect, and all the toys came to life or began murdering people and attacking people. That was one. The follow-up year was we actually were transported to, I don't know if it was the winter realm or the Christmas realm, or the
Is that where you went into the snow globe?
we went into the snow globe, and again, more horrible things happened to our horses.
That's where you you met the winter wolf that you guys were terrified of, right?
We met the winter wolf, and instead of fighting it, we bartered with it, and we gave it the mounts. and we've just had horrible luck with mounts. We've gone, like, especially in the first year or two of that campaign, it was like we each went through like 3 mounts apiece. Like, until we started getting special mounts that weren't horses. Like, the horses, like, they just needed numbers. Because I just can imagine, like, we would go to the guy that the horse breeder, and be like, yeah, we need another horse. You just had one last week. What happened to that? Well,
Well, then, and when Taris had died, or Varys, whichever one died first, or whichever one died, when he came back.
Was there another death I didn't know about?
No, well, I mean, it's just, whichever one came first, when he died and came back as the blood zombie, like, he wound up, killing your horses all the time, and that was a bit of fun. But when Easter came around with the most recent season, you guys wound up, dealing with the what are they called? The unicorn bunnies,
Abijah or something like that.
Totally not. I want to look at the book and try to figure it out, but it's not that important. But they wound up, kind of becoming animated and attacking and having kind of chaotic effects happened, and some of the eggs were good, some of the eggs were bad that they were laying, and
I don't know if I've done any holiday adventures for this group for the winter season. Anyway, I usually get in Halloween.
We also did like a St. Patrick's Day thing with the leprechaun. So I remember
that was so cheesy and hokey. And then eventually players are, you literally are just making us do the Leprechaun movie, aren't you?
But you know what? Like,
maybe.
but it was fun. Like, it was enjoyable, as a player, and to not be like, oh, there's 4-leaf clovers, and everything's all like the rainbow and the coins. And, there was a lot more
lucky
going.
Charms.
There was a lot more going on. I did really enjoy that aspect of it.
Yeah, well, and I think that's part of the fun of doing holiday adventures is when you can take those. If you can take those things that people are going to recognize where you're taking it from, absolutely do that. Like, whether it's the Griswold Family Vacation movie, if you wanted to do something with any of the animated stuff that we've talked about. There's so much to draw from, and I think players like that, and they like it when they kind of figure it out, like, oh, this whole thing is based off of something else.
All right, so I gotta call. I'll come back to that in a second. But Shalendor says, "I love how Nate is now the shield of Nerdarchy." So we'll talk more about that shield, a little bit later.
I've not talked to Nate in a while. In theory, he's driving a big truck somewheres.
I got to talk to him, a couple of days ago, but we really didn't get into any long-term conversation. I guess he got kind of pulled away, and was like, "I'll call you back," and haven't heard from him since. So, I can only imagine everything's all right.
He's just trucking. So Doug wants to know, I'd like to draw attention to the dope octopus hoodie Ted has. Question, is the hood on an octopus head?
The hood is not an octopus head, but it has a hood. I picked this up because I felt this was kind of appropriate. My character in Dave's game is kind of being tempted by some evil outsider magic, so I thought it was appropriate to wear tonight. So we'll see how things go in that game. But diving back in, you mentioned seeking inspiration. There are times that when you want to run an adventure, you can literally just link to one concept, one scene, and then expound upon it. So okay, Easter, you talk about bunnies and eggs and chocolates, and you can work on all of them, or you can work on one similar, one small aspect of those. Okay, let's do a Halloween adventure. All right, well, I want to tap into the horror, the scariness of it. And around Halloween, it's fall, so let's use the Scarecrow. All right, well, you're not talking about the Wizard of Oz Scarecrow that's loosey-goosey and stupid. Let's make this a horrific thing. So we'll run a low-level Halloween game, and things are happening in the fields, and people are being killed, the crops are being spoiled, and every time you walk by the Scarecrow, maybe you get a chill down your spine, but you use the like the static effect of like the gargoyle, where it just looks like it's a made thing, and you get no sense that it's beyond the norm. And eventually, like, that's the big boss, and you might fight some smaller things. Maybe the crops have been animated and they're attacking. You could go in a lot of different directions, but that's just focusing on one small aspect for for a game, and you really have to just figure out what kind of thing you're looking to do to make it fun and enjoyable for your players and yourself as well.
I also feel like the holiday adventures is a good time to kind of deviate from what your normal game is. Like, if you normally have a real serious game, like, this is a great time to maybe add some silliness and some campiness to it, and then kind of lighten the mood.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you've got a very dramatic, plot heavy game, if things are that tense, and if you're meeting every week, like, the drama can really build. And I'm certain some of you out there watch some of the online games that they meet every single week. Maybe you're watching what Dave did with the Scarlet Sisterhood, or you're watching some of the Save or Dice stuff. Like, sometimes things really build and build and build, and you're like, man, I just need to go ah. And these are a way to just break away from the norm. For me, whenever I'm looking for that kind of stuff, it's like, all right, I can just pop you into another demi realm, or what have you, and there you're removed from everything that you could possibly attach to your main plot line, and have a lot of fun with it.
Or it becomes a nice way to kind of integrate some myths and legends into your game as well. Yeah, based off of that. A true mate wants to know, when did Ted become a Cthulhu cultist? And was it? Let's see. Someone had said, yeah, it was true mate. That's what I thought. Santa has been slain, and the adventurers are tasked by Mrs. Claus to find the murderer.
Well, I mean, even the Big Bang Theory, like, they have a couple episodes where, like, D&D is kind of a main theme of what's going on, and one of them is Santa has been kidnapped, and they receive a letter that they got to go rescue Santa Claus. Things don't go well for Santa at the end of that episode, but it's still there and still fun, and it's absolutely something that you could wind up doing if you wanted to have that particular figure in your world.
Billy Grunwald, did you guys ever have Halloween-based games? I've had several. I did kind of like a Children of the Corn session with, I think it was you, Todd, and maybe Ryan was in that session. It was like, we didn't have everyone there.
Right.
But we definitely did it, and then I ran like a one-shot for you, Ryan, and a couple of fans that had happened to show up at Geek Fest that was around the Halloween time. Mm-hmm. And I kind of did like this mashup between the Headless Horseman and Christine, from Stephen King.
Yeah, that was the wagon that exploded.
The haunted. Yeah, I did a ghost carriage.
And spoiler. Once we won, then two of us died.
Yeah.
It's like, woohoo!
Victory. So that was fun. Like, and it was based off of basically this ghost carriage was murdering adulterers.
So I think that was, despite the fact that my character died, that was a pretty fun adventure, and I think that was the first and only Genasi I've played in 5th edition.
Bill Grunwald again. Day of the Dead holiday would be cool. Yeah, I mean, really, like, I don't think you even have to think really hard on this. Like, just look at real world holidays and myths and just rip them off. You know, and then and I feel like the more like tropey and campy they are, the better.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is to have a little bit of fun with it, and not have it so that it's an exact map of something that's already transpired, movie or book wise, but to just steal like your main concept from somewhere else, and you can have so much fun with it. As Ala Mirage was the name of the bunny, the unicorn bunny. I had so much fun with that because I love chaos magic, and throwing off those those random rolls every so often. And to me, that was probably the most fun adventure that I had run based on a holiday thing. So I think you can go in a lot of different directions. You just have to figure out what you want to steal and how you're going to implement it.
Let's see, Nerdator Doug. I like the idea about solving Santa's murder, checking the naughty list for suspects.
That's a good one.
That is a good one. And like I said, it's just a chance to run games you don't normally run. I'm looking forward to tonight. It should be fun. See if you guys can't save the Winter Festival or not.
Well, given this group, I'm going to consider that a crapshoot.
It could go either way. Is that what you're trying to tell
me? That's what I'm saying. But to answer, Truemate's question, I keep trying to find, nerdy cool things for me to, put on, for, change up my wardrobe for the show. I saw this one totally fits the theme of my character being tempted by, some kind of evil outsider. So, fun.
So what do you think is like the most important part or aspect of creating a holiday adventure?
You want to make sure that you've tied in to one of like the main themes of what that holiday is. So if you're talking about now, like there is supposed to be the winter holidays is about coming together. You don't have to get into the gifts. You don't have to get into, the cold if you don't really want to. But like, I do try to adapt to cold, and a survival-esque, winter thing could be fun, and having a unity, like, oh, we have to work together in order to achieve this, fits well. I know a lot of people who wind up doing, a winter themed holiday adventure. Rescue tends to be a big theme of it because normally someone else is off doing things and they can't do it if they've been kidnapped or what have you. So that's what I tend to see, but you don't have to go in that direction if you don't want to.
No, but I think that works too, because a lot of times, I mean, especially like American, in the States, Christmas is a huge holiday, and if you're Christian, it's a huge holiday, and the idea of the Santa Claus mythos, I think, is just a fun one. Mm-hmm. So there's this guy that's going to go out and do all this nice stuff for everyone, and it's really easy to just eliminate that person, and then like, oh well, how do what happens to the holiday now? Right. So.
But what I would do, and what I have typically done, is when you're talking about a winter themed or holiday themed adventure at this time of year, I also like to be at the end a little extra giving as a GM, like whatever reward it's going to be, like whether you're going to offer something mechanically to them, you get a free feed or stat bump, whether you're going to offer up magic items or monetary reward. Now is an easy time because it's supposed to be the giving holiday where people spend lots of extra money that they wouldn't normally do on said people, said family that they really care about, what have you. So I know when you guys had done the adventure in the snow globe, there was a Santa-esque figure that he did reach into a red bag and hand you guys magic items at the end of that adventure.
Yeah, I feel like that you combined like the snowman. You combine Frosty the Snowman with Santa Claus to make that guy, and maybe a little bit of Yeti sprinkled in there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you just weave things together until you've got something that you really care about. I honestly, like, I don't remember whether I named the guy, you know, what it was, but it was...
Oh, he absolutely had a name.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't tell you what it is, but he absolutely had one.
I don't normally, you know, throw out a character without having some kind of name attached to it, but, you know, I just remember that it was the you know, a demiplane inside the snow globe, and, you know, the concept of my game was I wanted to be able to give you guys the normal magic items that an adventuring party should have, but the only way you were getting them was to travel outside the Prime. And as a holiday-themed adventure, this was a great way to do it. Well, you just have to go somewhere else to get them.
So, Peter Gardenia, Santa is a slasher like a B movie, and the gift are all cursed or curses, which I actually like that. So, like, that's another great way to go. If you take a standard trope and just kind of like twist it and reverse everything. You know, Krampus is a great example of that, but you could do it with anything. You know, instead of, you know, the Easter Bunny being good, it could be evil. You know, you could, you know, again, Santa and his elves, instead of being helpful and kind, you could go the other way and make it dark.
Well, what you could wind up doing is you could turn the whole holiday calendar a click in either direction. So like, you know, or several. So like during the, you know, Halloween time, you could put Santa or, you know, the Easter Bunny in those kind of shoes, and things have been turned around, and it's like, well, wait a second, why is Santa being this horrific character? If you want some inspiration, by Weird Al, The Night Santa Went Crazy is always a great place to start your research. It's a pretty awesome song. I highly recommend it. You know, and then this gets people going, like, what the hell? Because, you know, now you've got this, you know, atypical good guy doing these horrific acts, and it's like, all right, well, now you have to solve this and figure out why, and maybe you do like a multi-stage adventure. You know, okay, in October I'm gonna run Santa, you know, going crazy. You know, you don't kill him because you gotta fix the problems. You know, you add some way of you know, celebrating.
You use Santa Claus for every holiday, and just the Santa Claus in your world has the shittiest life ever. Every holiday, just something bad happens.
Like, I would do a multi-stage arc: Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. You know, all with Santa, and, you know, yeah, he's had the last 90 days just suck for him. That would be pretty cool, and I think, you know, I might have to begin thinking about how to do that.
Yeah, I actually do like the idea of, you know, doing the reverse Santa, but maybe like it actually, something's going on. You know, like you have to solve this, you know, this murder mystery and it's really weird because people are being like staked to the ground with candy canes and you know, and things like that, and then it turns out the Santa like figure is the one murdering people. Yeah, except for he is supposed to be this quintessential good guy. So you have to figure out why. Is it a frame job? Is someone else doing it, or is it him and something's wrong?
And you know, I mean, you could go in a you know, huge direction with this, you know, with the concept, and a bunch of different Christmas movies talk about, you know, these individuals being legendary figures. You could go so far as to actually, you know, create these things, you know, Sandman, Tooth Fairy, what have you, as essentially immortal beings. And you can't kill them. You actually have to fix the problem. And God forbid, or gods forbid, you wind up getting into combat with this thing. Like, you need to run, because you can't kill them no matter what you do. So
you're gonna get a big black boot where you don't want it.
So like,
as Santa Claus comes to town,
it'll take your typical D&D adventure where typically you solve your problems with, you know, with combat, and that's the end of it. But here you can't go in that direction. You need to find an alternate solution. Man, now I'm more and more in love with this idea.
Too bad the holidays are almost here and gone, and you've missed it.
Yeah, well, you know, there's, you know, the great part about this calendar is, like, it'll tick back around eventually. So.
That's true. So, Doug, I think I'll do a holiday adventure for my group tomorrow and put off having to deal with half the party being stuck in hell for another week. Dude, I think you're totally missing the point. You should do a holiday adventure in hell.
So what do the demons do to celebrate Christmas? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're drinking their cocktails eggnog and, you know, decking the halls.
Yeah, maybe the Infernal War takes a few days off or a week off to you know, celebrate. You know, what kind of souls are they drinking this time of year? Yeah.
Flower of Life Collective, the Troll Grinch looted the Elven town before the celebration. Go find him. Return the gifts. Frost Giant encounters along the way. The Grinch that stole Father's Winter Day is very much like that, only it's lower level, and you know, might be a goblin as the Grinch, but I know it was very important to Nerdarchist Ryan when writing and developing this adventure that there be a dog with a big set of antlers tied to its head. Everything else was all fluff and filler. The important thing was that those antlers tied to its head.
Absolutely. So James Leslie says holidays in hell, the equivalent of Christmas at Ground Zero, right?
Or Christmas with your family, depending on your family.
Ian McKeon says, "Love how Orca stole Christmas thumbnail." You know, it's by Frog God Games, so go check that out.
There's a link in the description, and if you missed it earlier, not only is there a link, there's also a promo code for 30% off. You can only use that promo code twice, and then it won't be good for you anymore. So if you're going to use it, make the best of it.
Absolutely.
I guess it's only fair to mention that Frog God is a sponsor of ours, so we have a good relationship with them, but we really do like their products.
Absolutely. So Doug says he's definitely copying all these ideas and you know, figuring out how he's going to run them tomorrow. So Doug, let us know how those go.
Well, I guess there's planes of ice and snow in hell, but I was just thinking about the snowman in hell. Snowman's Chance in Hell. Oh, that's the name of the adventure, Snowman's Chance in Hell.
That's amazing.
Do it, Doug. Let us know how it goes. Taurus, I played D&D for the first time on Thursday. Absolutely loved it. Always wanted to play, but never got the chance. I never knew anyone else wanted to play it. Yeah, there's a bunch of us nerds playing it. Congrats and welcome.
Absolutely. You know, I love hearing you know, people, you know, picking up this amazing hobby for the first time. You know, we've been obviously, you know, nerds and fans of this stuff for quite some time, and you know, hear somebody else getting into the hobby, it always just warms my heart.
So again, from Taurus wants to know any advice on how to convince a DM to do a holiday adventure, roll persuasion. I would start by asking how they feel about it.
So William Blower says, do you have any advice for DMing for kids? We have several different videos, you know, up on the channel, you know, into that. So I mean, if you go to our page and search this channel, or just put Nerdarchy Kids in a main search, I think you're going to find several different videos. I know I sat down with I think it was BJ Hensley at Gen Con, and we had talked a video about that specifically.
Yeah, that one's more recent. There's other ones we've done. I mean, there's ones where it was me, you, and Scott talked about it. There's a really good GM tips with Satine Phoenix and TL Franschetti, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. So that's also a really good one to check out as well. Pig Ninja is awesome. So yeah, so there's definitely a lot of resources out there for that.
James Lilly says, "Nah, Doug, Frosty the Snow Golem."
There you go.
You know, Truemate wants to see a Night Before Christmas D&D with Jack Skellington.
That would be a good one.
You know, holiday mix match is always a lot of fun, and yeah, you could definitely go in different directions. You could steal, you know, the night before the Jack Skellington movie. Totally drawn a blank.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nightmare Before Christmas. There we go. And you could literally have, you know, the holiday demi-planes or planes of existence, and have that spot where you can teleport to, you know, each of those locations in your world if you really wanted to. I think that could be a pretty interesting take if you really wanted to tie into those holiday themed adventures.
So Nerdator Doug, maybe Santa faked his own murder so he could get out of doing the job. So when the characters solve the murder, Santa's like, "Damn it! Now I got to keep doing it." But maybe for just that one session, for just that one that 1 year, the players are the ones that go out and do the Santa thing.
You know, that's kind of a steal from Megamind.
Megamind, yeah.
Yeah, so it was like, you know, that could be that could totally work. Like, all right, man, been doing this for so long. Can I just get a break? I want this year off.
Oh, you know what? Someone, let's see. James Leslie. Hello, folks. Sorry, a bit behind. My times today was sifting through the Colville book. Also, someone else asked if we're going to talk about it. You know, I still have to. We backed it. We still have to download it. Maybe next week. Maybe we'll download it, and then next week we'll talk about it a little bit.
Which was that? Strongholds and Streaming. Okay.
Yeah. No, but that's the name of the book. So
what was the campaign?
That was the campaign. What is the name of the book? Something Strongholds. Damn it.
Somebody in the chat will let us know.
They already did before. I've already forgot it that quick. But yeah, so we could take a look at it over this week, and next week's live chat we could probably talk about that a little bit as well. So guys are pretty active in here. I'm way behind.
Mike G, I ordered that one as well. It hasn't showed up yet, but I'm certain in the somewhat near future you will definitely see that hoodie on one of the vids in the near future. Strongholds and Followers is what Doug and James are saying.
Also, folks, if you have questions, just put question in front of it. It makes it a lot easier for us to pick them out.
Question or tag us, at Nerdarchy so that we see the little orange bar show up.
Absolutely. So this year you're actually getting out of running the holiday game.
I am, with my campaign having wrapped up last month. We're kind of at a hiatus while we try to figure out exactly what we want to do
for the next one. Who's going to be in it? Are we going to stream it live? Are we going to? What kind of setup do we want to know? I know no matter what we do, we're not going to do what we did before. It's going to be different.
Yeah. So the ideas we're kicking around is it's still going to be a monthly game, but we won't be doing it live here in person, which to me it's kind of sad.
Well, we might be doing it live here in person, but even if we do, we're probably going to use. So we got a couple of things we're looking at. One is doing it live and streaming it. Then we're all in whatever locations. The other is we do it here, but we don't do the one camera angle because it's kind of beat. Instead, we'll get multiple webcams and set them up, and we'll do the boxes, but we'll be in the same place. Maybe we can even get a camera on the actual battle map when we use it as well.
Right.
So, I guess we're going to, do some actual production and put up some overlays and stuff. And then, when we do it, it's probably not going to be the Nerdarchy main channel. We're just going to have a gaming channel just for that. We'll keep a playlist of the games here on the Nerdarchy main channel so that you guys know what's going on and it's not hard to find. But, we definitely find it when you have the long-form content mixed in with the short-form content, it kind of sends mixed signals to the audience, and they don't always like that. So
absolutely, so we've got some things we're trying to play around with, and once we figure out exactly what we want to do, we'll put together and we'll do a session 0, and we'll get things rolling. So at this point in time, we are pretty much waiting for it to roll into 2019, get some things settled down for us, time wise. But that doesn't stop my brain from working. I've got a list of ideas of what I want to do, or what what I'm going to offer up to the players as possible campaign options. But I also want to hear what they have to what they want out of a game. Like, are we talking about small story arc, similar to what you guys are doing over on Savor Dice, or whether we want to do another, level 1 to 20, long firm, 3 to 4 year game. So,
what if we played something not D&D? Anything could happen, folks. Anything could happen. So we'll see what our players want to do. See what you guys want to see us do as well. These are all huge factors.
So, Doug keeps throwing out there the idea, the wizard school, Magocracies, duelists, that kind of stuff. An all wizard party or an all spellcaster party, could be a lot of fun. The challenges that you have there are you're gonna run into problems of on average a lower hit point threshold, which definitely adds to the challenge of the game. And where in the world would something like this wind up popping up? Obviously you're gonna have places where wizards can train and what have you in any kind of D&D setting, but what kind of game would that look like?
So William Blowers, pardon my ignorance, but did they answer the question about DMing for kids? I know I should have been listening, but my sister needed help with opening a soda. So it makes me wonder if, but when I get that question, I always assume it's like a parent wanting to know about playing games with their kids. But now in context, it makes it weird. But yes, we did answer it. Search YouTube Nerdarchy Kids or Gaming with Kids or any of those. But if you're going to search Nerdarchy, or if you're going to search YouTube, you need to put Nerdarchy first. If you use the search feature on the channel, which I recommend, then you don't have to worry about the Nerdarchy tag. Also, GM Tips, Satine Phoenix had at least one episode about gaming with kids. So definitely check it out.
We got a handful of things up there. I've run a variety of games, for kids, but searching the channel for kids would definitely point you in the right direction.
Doug, not D&D, lots of question marks.
There should be exclamation points, in there as well with the.
Yeah, maybe. James Leslie, it's okay, Doug. Slow breeze. There are other games. It'll be okay.
We talk that there are other games out there, and we do try to share the love of those other games with you, with all of the viewers. I think that every other rule set that I learn and play, I become a better GM, a better player, and things that I like or don't like, wind up making my D&D game that much better. So sometimes it definitely behooves you to try other games so that you become a better gamer, a better GM, DM, for your D&D game.
I'm just reading some of the comments. Santa should be a fey race, maybe a friendly troll, because true Christmas cheer can affect anyone.
William Blowers, thanks, Nerdarchy. I want to spend more time with my baby sister. I say baby sister, she's 9 years old. So, gaming with a 9-year-old is, not bad. My daughter started playing No Thank You Evil at 4, and she's already been in a couple of D&D sessions at 6. Mind you, her attention span is definitely much more geared towards a No Thank You Evil game, which is like 45 minutes to an hour and a half, and that's a long game there. At PAX Unplugged, I did run an hour demo for Monty Cook Games of No Thank You Evil, and their things definitely geared towards that 45 minutes to an hour, which is great for that kind of age range. But you could tailor a D&D game to that same spectrum. You just really have to be careful about how many combats you're going to put in if you're expecting to blow through them as fast as a No Thank You Evil game.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. Us as individuals. Then, how many people did you have for that game, and what were the ages like?
For No Thank You Evil, the demo I ran was only a couple. It was spouse, guy and a girl, which at Gen Con they had purchased from Monty Cook Games, the No Thank You Evil box set. But he was really new to RPGs. He's much more of a board game fan, and he's like, I got intimidated by the rule book. And he's like, I bought it to run for my kids, but I really wanted to sit down and have someone show me like a step-by-step, how does this work? What do I do? And, for a storyteller, a DM, GM, at No Thank You Evil, it's really simple because you don't touch the dice. You just tell your players, all right, you're going to fight something or you're going to do this task. you set your difficulty anywhere from 1 to 8, and the players just roll their die to see whether they're successful or not. Do they take the damage, or do they damage something? Do they avoid the hazard? It's really really cut and dry, really simple. I highly recommend anyone who is looking to get into role-playing games with kids. That is a really good place to start.
So there's some good questions coming in.
So Dark Silver 1200 says, what would you do for a post-apocalyptic low magic D&D character-wise anyways? You're talking about low magic. Post-apocalyptic. I'm gonna go rogue. Rogue thief, rogue assassin. Looking out for number one. That tends to be the typical theme for a post-apocalyptic. Selfish.
Any of the fighters except for Eldritch Knight work. Any of the barbarians work except for maybe the Storm Herald. Or the ancestral ghost, or the ancestral ones. Well, barbarian does actually have quite a bit of magic weaved into it, as we were kind of like dissecting barbarian paths, no reason, the other day. But yeah. So you'd want to go with kind of like martial classes that don't really rely on spellcasting.
I looked at my first go-to was rogue, mainly because expertises are going to be incredibly helpful to you, and being able to steal food if you need to, being able to hit hard. I mean, I think barbarian, rogue, and paladin are your top 3 heavy hitters. So that's where I go.
So anarchist, spelled weird. Anarchist. If one player happens to kind of take the spotlight just due to their normal player behavior, how do you get them to kind of take a step back so the rest of the party can feel more involved?
Anytime there is
cattle prod. Bang! You hit them with that once while they're recovering. You like the rest of the party. No, go ahead, Ted.
Anytime you have a non-in-game problem, everything always starts with a conversation. If you can't solve the problem away from the table, just saying, "Hey, look, I noticed you're doing this. You're being the typical spotlight hog. Can you get somebody else a thing? Give somebody else a chance." And they're still not responding. Then when they start spotlight hogging, interrupt. The person who's being the quietest. Just be like, "Hey, what's your opinion about this?" And get that person, involved in the conversation. And, you have to bring the other characters, in and let them have a conversation. Let them be a part of the dialogue. And, hopefully that will, convince the other player that, hey, you can't always be the center of attention.
Yeah, I mean, step 1 is just to have a conversation. And, it's better for it to kind of be like a one-on-one conversation instead of like the table. So instead of the whole table talking, and it feels like they're just kind of like jumping on this one person. And you can even diffuse it even further with pick the quiet person at your table or the next quiet person at the table if you happen to be that person, and be like, "Hey, you're really out there, and it's really hard for so and so to get in." Because they need a little more time. Could you pull it back a little bit? Or when you're doing this stuff, could you maybe try and figure out ways to involve the other players and bring them into it?
If you're the GM, you absolutely have the ability. If there's a spotlight hog at your table, to call to the players who aren't getting as much a chance and involve them in the dialogue through the NPCs to just, okay, well, all right, I appreciate your opinion, but what about you? Get the conversation going. This allows you to move it in that direction. But as we said, if you're not the GM and you're trying to get other players involved, have the conversation as a one-on-one with that player, and while you're a player, call out the other players who are being quiet and pull them into the conversation so that you get more of that equal feel.
Yeah, so and like Ted said, as the GM, you can call to other players, and then you can kind of like gently reiterate if they're being, if they're stepping all over other people. If an NPC addresses one of the other players specifically, one of the other characters specifically, and that player still kind of like tries to jump in, the NPC, not the DM, can be like, yo, wait, chill, jabroni. I asked so-and-so the question, not you. Hold on.
Right.
You're being rude. You know, so you can have like, maybe you can have like the in-game teaching moment. But obviously, out-of-game conversations are always the best way to handle any of that stuff.
Absolutely. So, you know, James Leslie apparently had an unfortunate incident where the dog is eating his bookshelves. Wants to know where we got ours.
Amazon. Most of our stuff comes from Amazon. But that, you know, actually speaking of the shelves, it leads me to, you know, we have the shield, as we had mentioned before, that's in Nate's spot. In the description, you can find a link to Paper Street Carpentry. They're the fine folks that made it for us. If you use Nerdarchy as a promo code, if you decide to get your own made, you'll get a 10% discount.
Nice.
And also, you know, it's kind of like an affiliate program, and we earn a small commission if you guys buy shields over there. But they're gorgeous. They look great. Every home should have one.
Absolutely. We're still trying to figure out exactly, you know, how we're going to have this, you know, properly displayed
And mounted. Yeah.
You know, I kind of like it, you know, here, but it's not really well secured. And I don't want it to eventually poke through the chair it's currently resting on.
We need a stasis field for it. There. There is. There's another guy that makes Viking shields, and I was like, I would love to have a Nerdarchy Viking shield. And then Paper Street, they just like, hey, would you like us to make you a shield? I'm like, yes, I would. I still might want to get a Nerdarchy Viking shield as well. Although those shields are actually functional shields, and he does like, it's not Arma or the other one. Hema. It's something based off of Viking fighting styles.
Well, there's a variety of different you know, styles and things that are out there, and I know of you know SCA and Markland that do you know kind of the mock fighting, but you know Hema and Arma, you know they are actually dedicated to the real fighting styles that you know are historically used. I've got actually a couple manuals over here on the shelf that I have studied from and, you know, for 6 months taught from. It's been way too long since I've actually done any of that stuff, but I totally miss it. It's a lot of fun, and I've got between books, protective gear, swords, armor, I've got, you know, way too much stuff that's kind of just, you know.
When you see props in the video, usually it's because of Ted doing Arma. Or LARPing. It's like one of those two places for the most part.
Arma, LARPing, you know, a handful of other odds and ends. But yeah, all of that stuff typically comes from, you know, my own personal bizarre history collection. So we're kind of getting close to the end.
Yeah, Kyle House, Academy of Viking March. I actually don't know the name of it, or Combat Dilemma.
Nerdy Buddha, no, I did not translate the runes alongside of it. I don't have the time right now to kind of go through that lengthy process. If that is indeed, you know, a specific thing,
not gibberish.
and not gibberish.
Oh, that would be the best if Ted was like deciphering it, and then we talk to the individual that made it. Like, no, I just couldn't anything.
I wouldn't even necessarily know exactly where I should start. It's like, you know, like maybe here because it looks like there might be a break, but I don't know.
Cole Douglas, that's absolutely who was talking about it. James Leslie. My memory sucks.
MSY Young says, you know, what shield is your fave? I've never fought, you know, with a full shield. I taught Sword and Buckler for about 6 months, and I did like that fighting style. I did really well with it. But that's the only one that I have any real experience doing when it comes to legitimate historical fighting styles. So,
yeah, you know, I think I would like the buckler too. I mean, the other shield is cool, but it's not the same. You can't really punch someone in the face with it the way you can punch someone in the face with a buckler.
Well, you know,
you can smash them in the face with it, absolutely, but it's not like a punch in the face.
I'm not actually really a strong individual, so like the punch buckler or the small buckler is designed as a deflection, not a stop. And if somebody is actually using, you know, a weapon and they come in at you full force and you just try and stop it, it sends the vibrations through your entire arm and into your torso. That can give you a dead arm really quick. So the style that I tend to, fight with, whether it be, sword and buckler or, hand and a half, is about deflecting so that you're not absorbing, that impact. So, yeah, that's much more of my preferred style of, fighting.
MSY Young also wants to know buckler with rapier.
I did a little bit of rapier, but not rapier and buckler. It was it was shield and small blade. It was I used the book MS-133 if you happen to be familiar with that.
Okay, so MS4 did Hema for 4 years.
Nice.
So yeah, you pretty much focus on the German longsword, right?
Yeah, that Arma is typically dedicated towards that. We did, like I said, I taught sword and buckler for 6 months. I took like an intro class to rapier with that group once, but we did dagger, we did hand and a half axe, and polearm, but there wasn't a whole lot there wasn't a whole lot that we did with polearm beyond just let's experiment. And the little bit of polearm that I did do, like if you're not careful, it's just like it's a quick thrust and you stab someone in the face and they're dead. So bouts didn't typically go long with that because it's
because everyone dying.
Well, yeah, I mean, the goal is just that. Can you get the one thrust, one kill? So yeah, that takes a little bit of work.
So I totally lost my train of thought. I'm just thinking about lunch now. I'm just hungry. Where should Nerdarchy have lunch today? That's the next topic. Knife. Did you say knife?
Knife, yeah.
Yeah.
Dagger. I mean, you're talking about a blade about that long, and anytime you get into knife on knife, there are going to be some kind of grappling moments that get into it. One of the people who were far more involved in that, when he and his son would go, like they would go full grapple, full groundwork. But since we didn't have the pads laid down, we were basically doing this on like a gym floor. No one else would go full speed, full strength like the two of them would. But it was definitely enjoyable to watch. My
other people's pain is always more enjoyable than your own. I agree. I abhor violence to myself.
my best moment of Arma, we were doing demonstrations at at an event. So it wasn't like it was just we're just here in the gym. But I wound up getting into just sword on sword, and I wound up disarming my opponent while still striking him across the midsection. So like we went into it and I wind up like I've got his sword in this hand while my sword is coming across delivering a killing blow. Still highlight of my Arma career.
Yeah, I'm retired. I never touch a sword again. So Taurus wants to know, so my character's motivation is to find his fallen father's wagon, kill the bandits that killed his father. How do I get the DM to incorporate the story while being fair to everyone else?
These are always the tricky kind of things. Sometimes GMs are going to run their story and they don't take character, background and backstory into what the story is. Other GMs totally want to latch onto this kind of stuff. And, as with everything else, it always starts with a conversation. Talk to them, one-on-one and try to be like, hey, look, this is something I'd like to do for character growth. Is this possible to weave into the story? And see what they say.
So, I mean, there's a couple of important things. As one, what Ted brought up was, is the GM on board with telling your story? Because if they're not, it's not going to matter. If they are, the second thing is then get the players on your side. Like, hopefully you guys are building connections between your characters. So it makes it so easy. Like, if you have 4 or 5 random schmoes and you just throw them together, which is the way we used to always do it, which I personally think is a terrible way to do it now. if you need connections and ties, so this way, like, oh, you need to do a thing. Yeah, I would love to help you do the thing. Or maybe you can talk to them and maybe you guys can all have some different connections. What? That sounds like the bandits that killed my dad too, or whatever, or stole our family heirloom. So there's definitely ways to do it and get the other players involved and not have it just to be about you. Or maybe your character's trying to hire them to help them.
So a couple points. Number one, Dungeon World does a phenomenal job of, forcing character creation to tie your character to other characters within the party. And it's typically, it's like, all right, I get along with this person because of X. I don't get along with this person because of Y. So you've got this circular thing that links you to the other characters in your party. And it forces that camaraderie and that other things have happened before we get to session 1. You can adapt those kind of things to a D&D game with very minimal effort. Not everybody is willing to dive into the 400 to 600 hours that are out there for Critical Role, but should you so desire and you get into that, that is one of the things that I think Matt did a fantastic job of throughout the entire campaign. He was bringing in character details for both campaign 1 and campaign 2 of this is attached to this person's story and this is attached to this person's story. Every once in a while there were things where there was a layered effect where it affects person A and person B. Holy crap, that's really cool. And over hundreds, like 115 sessions is what the campaign 1 wound up being. And throughout, all of those stories, there were things that were going on. From the very beginning, we knew that, Marisha's character was going on her Aramente. She was supposed to be trying to earn the title of leadership of her tribe of druids. Well, it really required a lot of work for her to do that. And it took, many sessions for her to contact all of the different tribes. And she would talk to the players, hey, we are close to X. Are you willing? So there's the conversation out of game. There's a conversation in game that all can wind up happening to see if you can get the players, the GM, and the characters on board to these stories.
With that, it is that time. We had one final question about time travel, but we are out of time.
Also, maybe we can go back in time, answer that question, and they'll have it before we get to the the break point.
It's always a possibility. We're going to be adding something new. We're going to be adding some new Patreon-only content, video content, kind of like what we're doing here. A new Patreon-only live chat that we're going to be doing after we wrap this live chat up. So I think we're going to start that next week. If you guys want to check that out and are interested, and perhaps questions like that we'll definitely get to in that chat where it's a little bit smaller and more intimate. But until next time, stay nerdy.